Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Whole bunch of people sent me this story, including Chachi. Thank you very much. A bunch of versions of the story are out there. I grabbed the version from News Nation. News Nation is a channel, and a good friend of mine is one of the people who runs that channel. So I got to check that out. My friend John there at News Nation. But Emily Finn wrote this story headline, "Mystery Group Buying Land Near Air Force Base Sues Farmers." So there's an Air Force base with land around it that was owned by farmers. A mystery group was buying up that land and is now suing the farmers they bought the land from. But while questions remain about the mystery company buying 52,000 acres of land near an Air Force base, a congressman says farmers in the area are being targeted in a lawsuit from the group. And so you would think that someone buying up land near an Air Force base would draw scrutiny from somebody to make sure they've got good intentions, I would think. But a representative from California has been speaking out over the past 5 years about the land acquisitions by a company, and they're buying the land near Travis Air Force Base, and the rep says that the purchases don't add up. Now, they do add up in the sense that $800 million has been spent buying up this land, but it's unclear who's buying it up and why. Now, they do know the name of a company that's buying up the land. It's called Flannery Associates, but nobody knows really what that group does or why they're buying the land. In an interview with News Nation, the rep said he's been in contact with families of farmers who handed over their land to Flannery, saying they didn't want to sell in the first place, but they finally did. Since no California laws require them to sell, the land was bargained for by both parties at a much higher price. And now Flannery is suing the farmers that they bought the land from, accusing them of conspiring together to inflate the value of the land. Now, some of you are probably thinking, wait a second, Steve, aren't there occasions where somebody comes along and goes, we need this land for a better purpose? Can't we get the government to do some kind of takeover of it and allow us to, condemn the property and take it that way? And so nobody's approached the government apparently and asked for that to happen here, or if they did, they got shot down. So it's simply a private entity, a corporation most likely, that has approached these farmers and we want to buy your land. So they've been buying up the land. So the rep says it's a lawsuit designed to force the farmers to lawyer up, spend tens of thousands of dollars on lawyering, and maybe at the end of the day, bankrupt themselves. In fact, that has happened to at least one family that I know of, and I've heard rumors that another family simply said, we can't afford the lawyers. News Nation reviewed a copy of the lawsuit. Attorneys for the company say they believe this is a simple case about a group of wealthy landowners who saw an opportunity to conspire, collude, price fix, and illegally overcharge Flannery. So if you come to me and want to buy my property, and I get you to pay more than you think you ought to pay, can you sue me for that? That doesn't seem right, and I'm a lawyer. So the rep says there was no viable economic reason to justify spending several times more than what the land was worth in the first place. The suit comes as companies with ties to China have been ramping up efforts to buy American farmland in recent years. Public records show that Flannery Associates has invested more than $800 million, more than 50,000 acres of land surrounding the Travis Air Force Base since 2018. Now, there is no connection that anyone knows about between Flannery and China. But people are simply asking that question because of the concern that China has been buying up farmland in America. Legal representation for Flannery says the group is controlled by U.S. citizens, with 97% of its capital coming from U.S.-based investors. But after 8 months of investigation, federal officials can't confirm or deny whether this is true and have not been able to determine exactly who is behind the company. Now, the Air Force's Foreign Investment Risk Review Office, yes, they have such a thing, is currently investigating the situation. The rep says there are valid concerns that the land acquisitions could be tied to foreign enemies. The fact that they chose to buy all three sides of the Air Force base even raises immediate questions about national security, the rep says. So is this Chinese money? He asks. We don't know, but we do know the Chinese money was being used in North Dakota. We have a very deep suspicion, given the amount of money, given the lack of attention to values, that they simply want to acquire all of this land. News Nation investigated the now thwarted deal with a Chinese-owned company in Grand Forks, North Dakota. Last year, 300 acres of farmland were purchased near the Grand Forks Air Force Base in North Dakota by a Chinese-owned company, and that was a deal that raised red flags about potential spying. After pushback from the community, the city council ultimately voted to end the project, citing national security risks. Meanwhile, the rep from California says local residents near the base are riled up, just like the residents in Grand Forks, due to how critical the area is for the U.S. military. Travis Air Force Base is absolutely essential. It is the gateway to the Pacific, the rep said. A good deal of the munitions going to Ukraine also passed through Travis Air Force Base. Now, China has been buying up American farmland for years. Nearly 384,000 acres of agricultural land in the U.S. is controlled by China. And the rate at which they are purchasing the land is growing exponentially, according to the USDA. Chinese ownership of American farmland has increased 55% in the past 5 years, with almost 75% of it located in the south and about 16% on the west coast. So there's a group that no one knows what they do, has raised a bunch of money, and is buying land around this Air Force base. A bunch of people eventually sold because they said, well, we've been negotiating for a while, and they made us an offer we couldn't refuse, so we sold. And after they bought a bunch of the land, that group is now suing the people they bought the land from, saying, well, you overcharged us. And now a lot of people are going to say, but Steve, there's an allegation in there of a conspiracy. Well, a conspiracy is when two or more people get together and agree or plan on breaking the law together. And for the conspiracy to be illegal, there must be something underlying it that is, in fact, illegal. So if you and I agree to plan a surprise birthday party for somebody, we're conspiring to do that, but it's not illegal. And so the question is, if there's a bunch of landowners who own land and they're sitting around one day and they said, hey, this wacky group you've never heard of before showed up and offered us a bunch of money to sell our land, but we don't want to sell. Then they offered us some more money. Then they offered us some more money. And we sit around and we discuss this, and we realize the longer we hold out, the more we can get. Is that a crime? And of course, they're not saying it's a crime. They're saying it's a civil action. They can sue you for that. And so the real question is, how valid is such a lawsuit, and is it really going to end up with these people winning? Or are they simply hoping to bleed the defendants and make them sorry that they did this? So the question is, who's doing this, and what is their purpose for buying up the property? And then, of course, them suing the people they bought the land from. So it's a little on the crazy side for a variety of reasons. It's a strange story. I assume we'll find out someday. But as of right now, we don't know who the mystery group is or why they're buying all that land near the Air Force Base. But now they're also suing the people they bought the land from. Chachi sent it. News Nation published it. Emily Finn wrote that. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a cash advance.